Hi everyone, I'm George Coll. Welcome to part one of a three-part series titled Culvert Light. Part one is about 30 minutes, and this is going to be a three-part series, as I said, and part two and three can be found on Uscreen, and the address you can find down below. And the important thing here for people on YouTube and on Uscreen is that this can be challenging, this particular painting, for some of you, because as compared to some of the other landscape paintings we do, there's not exactly a foreground, middle ground, background. It's kind of you're in the woods. And so I go through step by step on how to develop one of these type of paintings. So with that, enough of me, but I want to remind you to get outside and paint, get critiques, and paint with your friends. Important thing, keep painting. All right, thanks very much. Let's take a look at part one of Culvert Light. All right, thanks for coming by. Bye-bye. Good morning and welcome to part one of a three-part series, I hope, called Culvert Light. So we have across from my studio is a culvert, and this beautiful scene was last fall with morning light coming in, so it's really quite spectacular. Now, I know it looks kind of complicated, and one thing I can say about this type of up-close painting is if you can do this, you can do abstract, and you can see we're going to probably have an abstract painting here by the time we finish our block-in. And that's how I think we have, landscapes on block-in can come up with these kind of interesting designs on our canvas, which can be taken off into abstract art. So I left my coffee here on my palette, so let me remove that and take a sip. And here's my brushes I'm going to start with today, my blue, red, yellow, and my Naples and gray. I thought because we're going to be using some of these lighter colors, I put some cad yellow deep here. That's what that is. It almost looks like an orange. I don't know if I'm going to use that or not, but I put it out. Burnt sienna, viridian, and white. And I think over here I have some ceruleum. I don't know why I have that, because I don't know if I'm going to put any sky holes in here or not, but we have it just in case. So let's get started with getting some shapes on here and dividing up this canvas. So I'm going to draw some lines to try to figure out where things are going to end up. Well, I think what's so confusing for some people with these up-close paintings when I call them jungle paintings, when you're kind of right inside there with all the woods there, that it's just kind of confusing with all this stuff going on here. So I'm making a gray to make a drawing color. So I'm making a blue and a burnt sienna and white. I think I'm using a number 2, rosemary. Well, I think over here is light area, so there's kind of light coming in here. So this is the direction of the light. So there's my arrow, see? Cool, all right. And then here we have a section with trees. We have a big old cottonwood across the road here. And then in here is this deep, dark, right up in here. And then up in this area, we have this pretty green, and then kind of some off broken dark in here. Now you're looking at that and you're saying that makes no sense. But this makes sense to me. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to say, okay, I think these are shapes where I can kind of figure out where this stuff's going to go. And that's what this is all about. This is going to be a bank right in here. And we have another light coming right in here. So we have two major light sources, one here and one here. All right. So now I'm going to change pace here a little bit. And I'm going to go to a bigger brush. So this is a number 10 flat, I believe. And I'm just going to put in some very thin paint. So here is going to be the area of bank in here. And this again is going to be the deep dark in here. Let me get some blue in here and some gray. And a little bit of yellow to make a green. So again, that was ultra blue, lemon yellow, gray. And this is that big, deep, dark green we have in here. And then over in this area we have more of a broken dark. This is when I get paint on my monitor. Get so close to it. So now this is starting to make a little bit more sense to you. Put a little bit of this stuff over in here, not much. So let's review what I've done so far. Trying to figure out here that there's basically some shapes here that I want to try to figure out where they are on my canvas. I drew the lines to give me a rough idea and identify where my two lights are going to go through, and one is right here, where the big arrow is, and another one's over here somewhere. This area down here is those dark darks. I have another one up here, and it's got a little bit more blue in it, I think. So I'll add some blue. Not too much yellow. And I'm gonna add some gray, just a little bit. Just added a touch of cerulean too in there. I think it has to go lighter. So I added some white. And I'm doing the paper towel thing just to kind of keep it thin. And you can see just by adding a little bit of cerulean in there, it's different than the color I put down previously. I think there's some sky holes up in here, so I'll thin it out. And here there's some sky holes, and that should do us for now. Let me get an idea by figuring out some tree trunks here. We're going to get some alizarin and some burnt sienna. Don't know if I have the right brush for it, but let's see if I can do it. And I'm going to have some. No, it's not working very well. I need a better brush. There's a whole bunch of I like about this old tree. It's got all kinds of stuff going on here. Let me see if I can do a better job with a better brush. Looking over here to see what I can find. I went to a smaller brush, so we're going to go back to brown and red. I'm going to add a touch of Naples to it. And a little bit of blue. And let's see here. I'm adding some white to fade it out just a little bit, and I think that was the wrong choice. Should have been Naples, so I'll go back to Naples. And you see here they're very faded, so I added the lighter mixture up in here. And I've got in-between guys here. But you won't go wrong by putting too many trunks in. And I think we got some other fellas coming in down here. We need tree trunks. I added just some more blue in this mixture just to darken it up a little. See how dark it is in here. Probably do better with a bigger brush now. But let me make sure I have enough tree trunks. And that should do as well. I need some room to work on my next mixture because I'm going from cool base colors to warm base colors. So I'll pick up all these things, I'll put it over to the left. I have these browns and greens, and I need to go to a different mixture now. So let's go to more of a yellow ochre mixture, which I don't have out, so let me get some raw sienna. That's pretty close to what I have, but of course my cap is stiff, so I have to get my pliers and open it. And raw sienna might be a good base for our next colors. I'm talking about the canopy of the trees. So let's see what we can come up with a mixture here. So let's throw out some raw sienna and some Naples and yellow. I want to put in a little bit of green there. And now some white. Probably need more yellow, more Naples. And now I think we're getting somewhere. It's kind of a bright olive, basically what this is. And checking my time, it looks like we're about 14 minutes into this. Okay. So what you hear me doing is trying to get some of this cool colors out of my number 10 and drying it off sufficiently. And now getting up here to put the base color in. I know there's brighter colors here, but this is a good base, I think. I'm really liking it. It's not very wet, but it's a good color. All right, let me take a look at this. Getting back is very important. And now we will continue on here. So the way I'm making my choices of where to put this mixture is, it's not the brightest color, but it's kind of a good base color for these trees right here, for the main canopy. And I think it's going to be very useful in a lot of places. Excuse me 1 second here. All right, back at it. Got a paper towel underneath my palette here that I can use. My friend Dave Holman, who's no longer with us, loved this culvert with, he took a picture of it with snow on it, and it was just stunning. You hear Studio Cat here in the background meowing, wanting attention. All right, I think that might be good for now. Now, can I use this and make it a little bit more gray and use it over in the bank where all the weeds are? So what I do is squint down when I look at the reference, or when I'm outside plein air painting, and just try to get my first teacher called this a mother color, one that will kind of be a good base for it. And I tend to make a choice on a mother color and try to go and choose the darker part of it. I mean, there's a lot going on if you really want to get in there with all that detail. But basically, if you squint down, I kind of come up with a warm gray. Now I have some of this canopy color here, so I'm going to try to really dry my brush as best I can and pick up the new stuff. So I'm going to have some contamination in my brush, but I'm using this, I was using it for a base anyway, so I don't think it'll be too far off. I could probably use a little bit more gray. Here we go. And I think we got it. Just a little tab, I mean a little bit of terp. And I can use some down here in some places also. All right, I think I better move on and get the highlighted light in here. Let's see if I can do that. I'm picking up the stuff. It's very valuable to me because I know I can use it later. And let's get the highlight color. All right. So, how do we determine what our highlight color is? Well, one thing you can tell by all this that it's more on the warm side, so that eliminates cools. So let's try some Naples and a lot of white. Let's add in just a touch of cad yellow medium. And let's make a lot of this. Back to Naples, Add yellow medium. Too much medium. There we go, coming back. And there we go, that would do it. So let's get that on. I'm going to switch over to a different brush I haven't used yet today. This is a number 7 Rosemary Filbert. And I am liking this very much. So, let's get to the big areas and start applying. So here and here and here, there and there. And I think I need a little bit more, less down here of this bright stuff. And let's get some more darker stuff on the other side, which would be over in here. Just applied a little ultra in there. So now you can say, well, Mr. Coll, there is an abstract painting. Okay, I think if you eliminated the blocks, or I mean the trunks, you could say, well, that's a nice abstract painting, or a base of it. All right, so that's how you can learn abstract. Work off your block-ins. All right, where else can I use some lights? I think in the upper right, I've got some. And let's apply some sky holes. And if you get a little contamination, it's no big deal at this stage. In fact, you can even soften your edges with it. So here's a softening edges, kind of dry your brush and go in here and soften your edges. And so you go in between the light and the dark and just soften. So if you overdo your light, you can always come back and knock it down a little bit, or the same thing is true with your darks. So let's go in and start putting in some good darks now. How am I doing on time? Good, I've got some time. And let's go with some ultra. Let's go with some gray and some viridian. And why not throw in some burnt sienna. I'm going to put some Naples on the side to kind of have a different value to this too. See, so I've got a real dark and a not so dark. And I'm going to go into the dark and go into seeing areas of dark. And I'm using some of these darks on top of this brown color I have on the trees, on the trunks of this cottonwood. And I need to establish, I think, a little bit of value change here. I didn't put it in as dark as you can see in my dark, but I just used the side of the brush, scrubbing it over the lighter color, and you can see it has a lighter value structure to it. There's some darks coming through here. If you look at the reference real closely, you can see a concrete thing. I'm standing on our little bridge that goes over a culvert across from my studio. I live west of Loveland, right up against this thing called the Devil's Backbone. There's a rock formation behind my studio. I think I have a picture of my studio on my website. I went into the website and updated it a lot this weekend. Yes, Miss Cat, I hear you. We have work to do. Anyway, it's a really neat spot out here. We've been here 28 years. After the kids grew up and went to college, we sold our house west of Denver, a community called Golden. It was kind of like one of these suburban houses made in the 60s. And the kids took over the downstairs with their bedrooms and stuff like that. And I didn't know how much damage boys could do until I got ready to sell the house and had to fix the plasterboard and do all that kind of stuff. They played darts on a dartboard that was on one of the doors. And then they covered up the door with posters so I couldn't see it. Man, they were tough. Surprisingly, they turned into really decent and nice adults. I really like hanging out with them. All right, we're coming to an end, so let me do a few things. You know, I want to keep these edges soft, so look, I'm just softening my edges by the flat part of my knife, not the edge. That's an edge. And if you have a lot of paint, you can pick up your paint with an edge, but I'm flattening and softening my edges. And that's what the purpose of this knife work is right here. And if you got a squeegee, that can work too. And that should bring us to an end today. All right, that would be part one. This is a block-in, and we've covered the whole canvas, which is a 14 by 18 painting. And we're ready to give this a rest for today, come back, get a fresh look at it, and tomorrow we're going to be working on balance. All right, with that, let's bring part one to, this is Culvert Light, to an end. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you in part two. Bye-bye.